CNBC TV18, embarking on a quarter century of excellence.
Hello and welcome to India Business Hour. I'm Shireen Bhan. The headlines that we're tracking for you this evening. Global markets rally after the US Fed keeps rates unchanged and strikes a dovish tone as the year draws to a close. Pencils in 3 rate cuts next year. The Dow surpasses the 37,000 mark for the first time. US Treasury yields slip below 4% for the first time in 4 months. Indian equities raise a toast as the US Central Bank signals an end to its rate tightening cycle. The Sensex and the Nifty jump to fresh record highs, powered by banking and IT stocks. The rupee's rallies tempered as banks buy dollars for oil importers. Bond prices surge as the US Treasury yield falls. Motilal Oswal Wealth Creation Study names Reliance Industries as the largest wealth creator for the 5th time in a row, says the company has created around 10 lakh crore rupees in wealth over the last 5 years. The list includes names like TCS, ICICI Bank, Infosys and Bharti Airtel. Government-owned real estate company Delhi Development Authority enters the premium residential segment to cash in on demand for luxury homes. Gets ready to launch flats, 4-bedroom duplex and penthouses priced between 2 to 5 crore rupees. GST relief for multinational corporations with Indian subsidiaries who employ expats. The CBIC issues a fresh circular, says non-payment on GST on expat salaries an interpretation issue, adds that officials should not rush to issue tax evasion notices to Indian subsidiaries of MNCs on manpower deputed from abroad. The 4 people arrested for breaching Parliament security are charged under the anti-terror law. Prime Minister Modi meets senior ministers to discuss the incident, even as Parliament proceedings are disrupted by opposition protests. 14 Lok Sabha MPs and TMC's Rajya Sabha MP Derek O'Brien suspended for the remainder of the session. Israel continues to bomb Hamas targets across eastern, northern and southern Gaza, causing civilian casualties. The U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan to meet Israeli officials amidst tensions after U.S. President accused Israel of indiscriminate bombing. Indian pharma giants are showing an appetite for weight loss drugs. Sun Pharma, Dr. Reddy's, Aurobindo and Zydus filed for generic applications of Ozempic, others exploring entering the space actively. As it completes 30 years in India, alcohol major Pernod Ricard doubles down on its premium-focused strategy to accelerate growth, says its newly launched single malt whiskey brand will accentuate its plans, adds it's looking at ramping up investment as it moves towards the target of tripling revenue by 2030. Automaker Tesla recalls over 2 million cars across the US and Canada to fix a bug in the autopilot system. The recall applies to almost every Tesla car sold in the US since 2015. Well, the big story this evening, the US Federal Reserve has kept its interest rates unchanged, and this is for the 3rd time in a row. But what really has cheered global markets is the fact that the Fed has not just signaled an end to its rate tightening policy, but it's also indicated 3 rate cuts through 2024. Now, the American Central Bank's policymakers unanimously voted to keep the benchmark rate in a range between 5.25 and 5.5%, and 17 of the 19 Fed officials projected that the policy rate would be lowered by the end of 2024. This dovish pivot has pushed the yield on the 10-year US Treasury paper to a 4-month low. It broke past 4% for the first time in 4 months. In fact, in his comments after the decision, Fed Chief Jerome Powell said the historic tightening of monetary policy is likely over, given that inflation has been falling faster than was expected and that the era of frantic labor shortage is behind us. Powell added that even though the US economy has slowed, hiking rates is no longer the base case for the Federal Reserve.
I mentioned we're moving carefully. One of the things we're moving carefully about is that decision over that assessment, really, over whether we've done enough, really. And you see that people are not writing down rate hikes. That's us thinking that we have done enough, but not feeling that really strongly, confidently, and not wanting to take the possibility of a rate hike off the table. Nonetheless, it's not the base case anymore, obviously, as it was, 60, 90 days ago. So that's how we're approaching things. And as I mentioned, we wrote down this SEP, and it talks about people have individual assessments of when it will be appropriate to start to dial back on the tight policy we have in place. And that's a discussion we'll be having going forward, but that's another assessment that we're going to make very carefully.
Well, that's the Fed Chief Jerome Powell there. And speaking of interest rates, the European Central Bank, the ECB, as well as the Bank of England have decided to keep their benchmark interest rates unchanged. In a statement, the Bank of England has said that monetary policy is likely to be restrictive for an extended period of time. Similarly, the Swiss National Bank has also decided to keep its interest rates unchanged, indicating that they are not considering further rate hikes anytime soon. However, in a surprise move, Norway's central bank has actually hiked its interest rates by 25 basis points. So that's the rate action worldwide on our screens. That is the picture as far as interest rates are concerned. Meanwhile, Brazil's central bank has cut benchmark rates by 50 basis points for the fourth consecutive time, signaling that it will keep cutting rates at this pace till its next meeting in January. Now, the Fed's commentary sparked a market rally across the world. Indices across Europe in positive territory, as were most indices across Asia. The Indian equity markets raising a toast to the Fed's dovish stance, with the Nifty and the Sensex climbing over 1% higher, scaling fresh records. So that's the Nifty up 256 points, the Sensex almost 930 points higher, the Nifty Bank closing 640 points higher, the Nifty Mid-Cap was up by about 587 points. All of this pushing the cumulative market cap of stocks listed on the BSE higher by 4 lakh crore rupees to 355 lakh crore rupees, a level that we have not seen before. Now, it wasn't just the stock markets that rallied today. The rupee strengthened against the dollar as the greenback weakened against its global peers. However, dollar buying by banks on behalf of oil importers did limit those gains. Meanwhile, in the Indian bond market, bond prices surged as the US Treasury yields slumped. And quick check of crude prices. Crude oil prices have seen sharp gains on weaker dollar and International Energy Agency's upgrade in demand forecast for next year. In its monthly report, the IEA has said that the world's oil consumption will rise by 1.1 million barrels per day in 2024, which is up by 130,000 barrels per day from its previous forecast. So that is supporting oil prices at this point in time. Reliance Industries emerged as the largest wealth creator for its investors for the fifth 5-year term in a row. This as per Motilal Oswal's annual wealth creation study. Reliance Industries has created wealth of nearly 10 lakh crore rupees in 5 years. Reliance is followed by TCS, which created over 6.5 lakh crore rupees during the same period. Then we have ICICI Bank, Infosys and Bharti Airtel among the other top 5 wealth creators for investors. This as per the Motilal Oswal wealth creation study. Lloyds Metals has emerged as the fastest wealth creator, while Capri Global has been the most consistent wealth creator between 2018 and 2023. The top 100 wealth creators have made wealth of over 70 lakh crore rupees. And speaking about investment growth, Ramdeo Agarwal of Motilal Oswal says retail investors entering capital markets and the rise of savings in India continue to see a strong trend.
Rise of capital market, like rise of retail. So that's very close to me. So I'm saying that. Of course, all the asset management companies, broking companies, your CDSL, NSEs, BSEs, whatever comes on the advices, all the wealth will be so much. You need all the global wealth managers will be sitting here, I'm telling you.
That's Ramdeo Agarwal on the markets. Now, there might be some good news for insurance policy holders, but not great news for insurance companies. CNBC TV18 has learned that the insurance regulator has proposed that policy holders be paid a higher amount in cases where they surrender their policies before it matures. Speaking to CNBC TV18, BC Patnaik, IRDAI member, said that a decision will be taken based on consensus from all stakeholders, including the companies involved. Take a look.
Now there is an opportunity for them to give their views and all. Okay. So this is a normal exercise. This happens for all regulations. Everything happens in a very, very democratic process and in the greater interest of each and everybody, the customers, the companies, all stakeholders.
Well, that's the insurance regulator floating a proposal, and that impacted the insurance stocks today, which closed in the red. The CBIC has asked field officers not to rush to issue tax evasion notices to Indian subsidiaries of multinational companies for non-payment of GST on salaries paid to expats. Now, remember, the Supreme Court ruled in 2022 that GST is payable on secondment for which Indian subsidiaries pay salaries to expats on behalf of foreign companies. In a circular, the board has asked officers not to apply the Supreme Court's verdict mechanically to every case. It said that it is different where tax implications should be considered, as various salary arrangements for expats are preferred by different companies. So some relief coming in there. On to a CNBC TV18 exclusive. Electric two-wheeler startup Ather Energy is eyeing a Dalal Street debut, but only next year or early 2025. The company is the second pure EV player to look at a listing after Ola. Ola, of course, yet to file its DRHP, but we're expecting it to do so over the next few days, as we reported. Parikshit is standing by to take us through what's on the cards for Ather. Parikshit.
One of India's first EV startups, Ather Energy, which was founded in 2013, is also gearing up for an IPO and is targeting Diwali in 2024 or early 2025. Sources tell CNBC that Ather has started seeking inputs on the IPO plan and possible valuations. We also hear that Ather is likely to complete the process of appointing bankers before March next year and independent directors to also be appointed very soon. The company plans for a listing had actually been delayed because of the reduction in FAME subsidies, but the company, we believe, is now fully gearing up for an IPO. Sources say the company is not looking to wait for profitability, but will target a revenue run rate of around 3,500 to 4,000 crores before going for an IPO. For the moment, Ather is ramping up retail operations with the launch of a high-performance Apex variant of the 450X and a new platform, the family scooter, by May 2024. Ather does expect the family scooter to significantly boost sales ahead of the IPO. The company is also targeting launch of 15 to 20 new stores per month and approximately 450 by the end of 24. Just for context, Ather is backed by Hero MotoCorp, which has a 34% stake in Ather Energy. Ola, TVS, Bajaj and Ather are among the top 4 electric two-wheeler makers in the country. Ather sold over 1 lakh vehicles in 2023 and has a 11 to 12% market share.
Okay, Parikshit, many thanks for joining us. And staying with EVs, energy tech startup Exponent, which is backed by Hero Motors CEO Pavan Munjal, has secured $26.4 million in a Series B funding round. This round is led by 8 Road Ventures, includes investments from existing investors like Munjal. The startup, which has built 15-minute charging technology for EVs, plans to leverage the new funds to expand its presence to 5 more cities by the next year. Speaking of electric vehicles, Tesla has recalled over 2 million cars in the US, and this comes after a 2-year probe by the regulator, which said that defects with the autopilot system pose a safety hazard. Now, the recall applies to almost every Tesla that's been sold in the US after the autopilot feature was installed in 2015. The company said it will install the new safeguards and fix current defects. A CNBC TV18 news break now confirmed global private equity firm Warburg Pincus has offloaded 10% stake in Fusion Microfinance via block deal. The stock up 6% in trade today. We learned from sources that Warburg Pincus associate Honey Rose Investment was the likely seller and sold its stake at 600 rupees a share. Honey Rose will hold 29% stake post this deal. Vedanta Resources has said that it has secured $1.25 billion from private credit lenders for debt refinancing and a new credit facility. The company said the credit facility was raised from a group of financial institutions to refinance existing liabilities. However, the firm has not disclosed the names of the lenders. Vedanta is also in talks with bondholders to extend the debt maturity profile of the company. Now, on to another CNBC TV18 exclusive tonight. Government-owned real estate company Delhi Development Authority has entered the premium segment to cash in on the luxury real estate boom. DDA is ready to launch flats, 4-bedroom, duplex and penthouses priced between 2 to 5 crore rupees. CNBC TV18's Timsy Jaipuria caught up with Subhashish Panda, the Vice Chairman of the Delhi Development Authority, on the DDA's roadmap for luxury housing.
We are looking at providing housing for all kinds of clientele across Delhi. There is, we felt, a need for also luxury apartments or high-end apartments, and that's how we have come up with this new offer this festive season. It's a combination of luxury apartments, including penthouses.
Well, this is going to be interesting to see DDA pouring into the luxury housing space. Pernod Ricard India will continue to make consistent investments to achieve its goal of tripling sales in India by 2033. That's the word from the company's CMO, Karthik Mohindru. Speaking to CNBC TV18 Shivani Bajaj, Mohindru said that the Alcobev company is looking to bet on India's growing demand for premium products. Take a look.
We do have an ambition to triple, but that's a much wider time frame that we're looking at. It's the 2030 sort of a vision that we have. And again, riding on what I mentioned, I think India remains a powerhouse market for virtually every category that there is in the world. Alcobev is no less. It's growing steadily. The top end is doing very well, as you rightfully mentioned. And we hope to capitalize on this growth organically.
Well, on to the big national story. Not an ordinary day in Parliament today, with members still processing the security breach incident that occurred yesterday when two men jumped inside the Lok Sabha from the visitors' gallery with gas-emitting canisters. There was a ruckus in both houses as opposition parties demanded that Home Minister Amit Shah make a statement on the security lapse. 14 Lok Sabha MPs now suspended for the remainder of the session for disrupting the House. TMC's Rajya Sabha MP Derek O'Brien has been suspended as well. While a detailed investigation into the incident is underway, the Delhi police has detained 4 people, including 2 who were protesting outside Parliament. The 4 accused have been booked under the anti-terror law and 3 sections of the Indian Penal Code. Now, as part of the immediate measures, the Lok Sabha Secretariat has suspended 7 security officials who were in charge yesterday and also discontinued issuance of visitors' passes.
मैं समझता हूं कि भविष्य में हम सारे सांसद, चाहे वो पक्ष के हों अथवा प्रतिपक्ष के हों, सभी को सावधानी बरतने की आवश्यकता है ताकि जिनको भी हम पास देते हैं ऐसे व्यक्ति को पास न दिया जाए जो जाकर इस प्रकार की अराजक स्थिति संसद भवन के अंदर पैदा कर दे। यह हम सभी को, केवल सत्ता पक्ष ही नहीं बल्कि दूसरे पक्ष के लोगों को भी यह सावधानी बरतने की जरूरत है।
The unfortunate incident which occurred yesterday was a serious incident concerning the safety and the security of honorable members of parliament. Honorable Speaker promptly held the meeting with all the floor leaders and listened to their suggestions for the further strengthening of the security in the parliament premises. No politics is expected to be done by anyone on such issues.
The problem the MPs have is the feeling that the government is not taking this seriously enough. Why wasn't the Home Minister in the House? Why was he not accountable? Why is the government not feeling it is accountable to the people? It goes to the concept of security in the Parliament. It goes to the arrangements for access. It goes to the way in which the building was conceived, designed and built. So the government is accountable because they're the ones behind this entire change. And we must therefore hear from the government at the highest responsible level. We want the Home Minister to come and speak to Parliament.
Well, reactions they're coming in from Parliament. Up next on India Business Hour, Indian pharma giants are showing an appetite for weight loss drugs. Sun Pharma, Dr. Reddy's, Aurobindo and Zydus filed for generic applications of the drug that's taken the US by storm, the weight loss drug Ozempic. Others are also exploring entering this space actively. Catch all of CNBC TV18's news and updates on Facebook, X, Threads, Instagram and JioCinema.
CNBC TV18, embarking on a quarter-century of excellence.
Israel continues to bomb Hamas targets across eastern, northern and southern Gaza, causing civilian casualties. The U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan is set to meet Israeli officials amidst tensions after U.S. President Biden accused Israel of indiscriminate bombing. Japan's Prime Minister Kishida is revamping his government after a political fundraising scandal in the ruling party forced the resignations of several ministers. The ministers are all from the Abe faction, which is named after the assassinated former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe and is the biggest faction in the ruling Liberal Democratic Party. Prosecutors have begun investigations into the faction over allegations of receiving over $3 million in fundraising proceeds that are missing from party accounts. OpenAI said that its artificial intelligence chatbot, ChatGPT, is back online after a major outage. The chatbot had issues for around 40 minutes, during which the service was intermittently unavailable. The company has not given an explanation as to what caused the outage as of yet. Global Partnership on AI Summit has adopted the New Delhi Declaration on the way forward. It was signed by digital ministers of EU and 28 member countries. China is not part of the alliance. As per the declaration, the member countries resolved to develop relevant regulations and policies around artificial intelligence. India has proposed development of common minimum actionable guidelines for regulating AI by the middle of 2024 during its term as the lead chair of the partnership.
We do not stay at an abstract level when we talk about AI regulation, that we get into a granular level of real rules, real principles. We think the next 6 months, starting with a program in Slovenia, starting with January, the India AI launch, followed by a February Slovenia conference on AI, Safe AI, and then hopefully by June, July, a final meeting of the GPA, which will be a mid-year meeting of the GPA, which India has offered to host. We will see in the next 6 months the coming together of what will be, I hope, agreeable and impactful and effective framework to address the safety and trust issues of AI.
As is true with any form of technology, right? Once technological innovation happens, it's sort of like the way water finds its own level. You usually find a way to make that innovation work, and you make it, help it make it work for business, you help it make it work for the greater good. And so I'm sure that it'll evolve. Whether it'll happen in the next week or months, I don't know. But at least over the next few years, we should probably see that evolving over a period of time. And as that evolves, I think policies will follow. That's what happens, right? If you look at technological evolution through the years, that's exactly what happens.
Well, AI regulations, the EU has already moved on a first agreement, and India and 28 other countries now following through. Indian pharma giants are showing an appetite for weight loss drugs. Companies like Sun Pharma, Dr. Reddy's, Aurobindo and Zydus have all filed for generic applications of Ozempic, the drug that has taken the US by storm. Others are exploring entering the space actively as well. Ekta standing by with a report on weight loss drugs and the India connection and the India opportunity. Ekta.
Diabetes and weight loss drugs Wegovy and Ozempic by Novo Nordisk and Mounjaro by Eli Lilly have taken the world and the global pharmaceutical industry by storm. These weight loss drugs, which are in shortage globally due to the burgeoning demand, propelled Novo Nordisk to become the most valuable company in Europe and was the primary reason for Eli Lilly's stock to rocket 60% this year. Ozempic, launched in 2018 for type 2 diabetes and administered as an injection once a week, generated sales of $8.56 billion last year, while Wegovy, launched in the US in 2021, prescribed specifically for weight-related conditions, crossed $1 billion of sales in just 1 quarter. Both these drugs now comprise of 52% of Novo Nordisk sales. Similarly, Eli Lilly's type 2 diabetes drug Mounjaro, approved in May 2022 in the US, saw sales rocket 652% in the September quarter to $1.41 billion. The forecast is the market for drugs such as Wegovy, Ozempic and Mounjaro could scale up 1.3 times from around $17 billion this year to $40 billion by 2028. So where do Indian companies stand when it comes to these blockbuster weight loss drugs? For the US market, from a generic copy standpoint, Indian companies such as Sun, Dr. Reddy's, Aurobindo and Zydus have filed for generic applications of Ozempic based on one of the patents that expired in 2022. And while we can expect many more filings in the US, the opportunity is far out, with generic competition in the US likely only around or post-2031. When it comes to India, companies are bullish on the prospects of the drug in what is known as the diabetes capital of the world, with the size for weight loss drugs estimated to grow 10.6% CAGR over the next 5 years. Novo Nordisk is currently selling only the oral version of its drug, branded as Rybelsus, and plans to introduce the injectable version by 2026 in India. Other companies too could begin selling semaglutide-based drugs such as Ozempic and Wegovy by 2026, as it is the year when one of the last constraining patents on these drugs is expected to expire. Companies such as Cipla, which traditionally has been known to fight patents, has said that they are studying the patent landscape and that semaglutide, which is the molecule which makes up these blockbuster drugs, might be an opportunity for the company in the country as soon as 2025-26. There is, however, a chance of Dr. Reddy's launching earlier than 2026. The company was recently given the Indian drug regulator nod for conducting bioequivalent studies on generic of Ozempic, which could mean an entry as soon as next year. However, patent challenges will be watched. Another company to watch for will be Divi's Labs, who in their Q2 call said that they could be suppliers for the GLP-1 opportunity, which they believe is strong due to multiple drugs coming up in the market. Companies such as Biocon too have mentioned it is a space that they are exploring actively. Lastly, while the chatter is getting louder amongst Indian companies when it comes to these weight loss drugs, tangible results are still to be seen. More so, it might be a difficult fight against innovations or innovators who are expected to protect the drug, which has become a multi-billion-dollar opportunity in all markets, fiercely. Watch this space. We'll keep updating it.
We will be watching this space closely, Ekta. Many thanks for joining us. And with that, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of India Business Hour. Thanks very much for watching. The news will continue right here on CNBC TV18. Stay tuned.
CNBC TV18, embarking on a quarter century of